So, there's a place that I don't often go for conspiracy theories just because I'm never on there and I don't really like looking there. And I say that as someone who looks at 4chan for conspiracy theories to cover. So, that place is Facebook. Facebook Live and Facebook in general has become a cesspit of all sorts of conspiratorial nonsense and people who have carved out entire careers as like live streaming conspiracy people. A lot of QAnon stuff, a lot of anti-vax stuff. It's pretty crazy. So today I thought we'd look at one such person. Goes by the name of Tilly Cat. This is a live stream she did earlier in the month. I thought it'd be fun to take a look and see what your parents and your parents' parents are looking at on Facebook all day. Remember when they said video games would turn us violent and television would rot our brains? Turns out that was projection. They've destroyed everything about their personalities on Facebook. Let's check it out.
Hi guys, Kathy here. It's been a while since I've come on and done a live, but I do feel this is quite urgent and quite necessary to...
It's definitely urgent and necessary and not a bunch of bullshit. What happened to the Flat Earther debate? He hasn't responded back to me. I messaged him the other day because he showed up in chat and was like, hey, yeah, let's do a thing on Tuesday. And then he never messaged me back after I messaged him. So maybe he got scared off. Don't know. Sky Comet Fallen says, the first time I tried weed, my singer's lungs took too much of a hit and I spent the next half hour telling my friends, who are also high, how the FBI was watching us through the wall with heat sensor drones, and they're all just staring at me like, dude.
do a live about. Okay, for those of you that aren't aware, those of you that might be waking up, those of you that are awake, I know there's plenty of you that my feeds are getting out to that are awake, but for those of you that are currently waking up right now, the east coast of Australia is going to be hit with epic proportions of weather, rain in the next probably 2 weeks, anything from 3 days to 10 days. I'm talking all the way from Melbourne up to Brisbane.
Didn't we see this one? We watched a couple minutes of it on the stream the other day when we were looking for stuff to cover, but now we're watching the actual, video. There's a couple things today that we watched a little bit of the other day, but we're watching the full thing now.
And inland.
I mean, no, you're just high. Ooh.
This isn't climate change. This is geoengineering. There
Weather control on the bingo card, that's a rare one.
is clear evidence that this is geoengineering. If you haven't been taking in your environment, it's quite clear when you look up at the sky and you tune in with your ears that things are happening.
You know, when you see things and hear them and you go, it's a weather dominator. They're controlling the weather for reasons. It's not that science has been screaming at us for literal decades that we are causing climate change through our CO2 and other greenhouse gas emissions. No, clearly the government is secretly controlling the weather through some sort of sci-fi technology. Also believe sci-fi technology is real on the bingo card. The Langren says, hi Hannah, longtime viewer since the TBR days. Great to finally catch a live stream. Glad you could catch it.
And when
Am I high or is she making sense? You're high. You're very high.
you dig a little deeper and you see the radar and you look at the sonic frequencies that are being targeted in certain areas to manipulate
Is she claiming she can see radar?
the actual weather, you will find that these floods are being done on purpose. Now, if we go back to 2018, just after our PM was voted in, you will recall that we had severe fires suddenly. And anyone who was on the ground and who knew fires said that those fires were not like anything they had seen before. They were coming from really strange directions. The trees were burning from the inside out, which is
I talked about this the other day when we watched the first couple minutes of it, but since this is going up on YouTube as its own thing, I need to point out this is actually a conspiracy belief that comes from, believe it or not, one of the QAnon founding texts. Not the actual QAnon stuff, but some of the secondary texts. The Fall of the Cabal video series, which is incredibly popular with QAnon people. It's how a lot of them actually get into the Q stuff. For some reason, it's brought up at one point that, oh, have you seen this tree burning from the inside out? Isn't that strange? Because people are dumb and don't take 5 seconds to Google things, especially if they're conspiratorial minded. They just go, yeah, I don't understand that. That must be a conspiracy. No. If a tree is moist on the outside, like if it has rained or if it, has some saturation of liquid on the outside, but the inside is dry, which happens with trees, then yes, fires can find pathways that it's easier to burn up into the inside of the tree, burn out the inside, and then the outside remains intact until it's able to burn that away as well. That happens. That's a thing that we understand. It's not a conspiracy. It's not weird outside of, the normal scope of how weird nature is. It's a thing that happens. Rageology says human-caused climate change is a myth. It's really people changing the climate. Something is a false flag on the bingo card? Sure. This falls into that. Anti-Pretzel says, if she's talking about the fires in California, blame the idiot over there who thought eucalyptus trees were a good idea to decorate the place. Those trees are filled with explosive sap and act as pressure cookers to their own detonators, which is also how they spread seeds. H. Baird says, QAnon foundational tax? The Necumnomicon? Tube-Man says, are you telling me this a-hole was causing climate change the whole time? Weather Wizard. DC Comics. The Flash. That's how I know him. He was in the first episode of The Flash.
Never happened, and it was disgraceful. When you dig a little deeper, you find the World Economic Forum under the New World Order, Agenda 21 to 30.
New World Order on the bingo card?
Has listed most of the towns on the east coast of Australia as smart cities. And they wish to build a rail through the areas that were basically decimated by fires and are potentially in the near future going to be decimated by floods. Lismore being one of the cities that has been signed up for the Smart Cities program. It's easy. I can post all the documents underneath for you to be able to have references. Anyway, let's get back to what's actually really happening. So the idea is to wipe out most of the east coast so that these cities can be built. Now, how are they going to do that? They're going to drop copious.
Does she understand that it's easier to build onto cities than it is to, build one out of scratch? So it makes sense if they wanted to build a smart city, it'd be much, much easier to integrate new technologies into the city that already has infrastructure than it would be to do a Lex Luthor plan, which would be to wipe it out with some sort of weather machine and then rebuild it from nothing, which I think was his plan in one of the Superman movies, roughly. He was gonna... Oh yeah, he bought a bunch of useless land and then he was gonna cause California to flood or break off or something. And then Superman flew really fast and time went backward. Is that the first one? I think that's the first Superman movie. Anyway, the point I'm trying to make is that's not how anything works.
Copious amounts of rain, flood areas, do it when it's king tides. And they have many, many other means to do this. What does that mean for the people? Well, it means that their houses become uninhabitable. And it means that they can call their emergency orders, which a bill has just been passed in Parliament that allows foreign troops, UN troops, who are part of the New World Order and the World Economic Forum, to...
No, UN troops are just, troops from the UN. I assume this is in case of natural disaster, because unfortunately Australia has been dealing with a lot of wildfire problems as of late because of human-caused climate change.
Come onto Australian soil and commit any offences towards...
Yeah, the World Economic Forum, to my understanding, is basically a think tank of wealthy capitalists that try and best figure out how to exploit developing nations. They put a nicer face on it, but that's basically what it is. It's a bunch of wealthy people kind of working towards, okay, how do we help developing nations develop into places that will best serve us?
The people of Australia under an emergency act without any liability of crimes against humanity. Now, that should be a massive concern for people. In Queensland, they have just extended the Emergency Act indefinitely. So what will happen is, and let's hope it won't happen, but this is what's planned, and we can change that, and I'll give you other ways potentially that we can influence that, spiritually, mentally, emotionally. But this is the plan. Keep hitting the East Coast with floods. Wear the people down to the point that they are so exhausted, their houses become uninhabitable.
That's just a result of climate change. Again, it's sad, it's tragic, it's awful that we've done almost nothing in order to prevent this, even though we had decades of foreknowledge, and the oil industry has had even longer foreknowledge about this than the public did. But either way, it's not a nefarious plan outside of the idea that just rich people didn't give a shit and didn't want to take action and still don't want to take action about it. It's a tragedy, but it's not an evil plan to wear people down. It's just the reality of the situation we're facing now. It's not good, but it's not evil in the way she is saying. It's evil in a different way. In, honestly, a much more banal, depressing way. Speedy Yoshi says, I find it funny that in Superman 4 they had to write how they got some of Superman's DNA to clone him, so there's just an exhibit with a strand of his hair holding like 10 or 20 pounds or something, and they just leisurely cut it with normal scissors. Did they not cut it with like bolt cutters? For some reason in my head it's bolt cutters. Maybe I edited that in my head though to make it less stupid. Either way, we got Nuclear Man out of it, so I'll call that a win.
And then come in with, so they make the problem, then they...
It was bolt cutters? Okay, I'm not crazy. I know my Superman films. Meek says, Stoner question, you're given the choice to be known as the definitive version of Batwoman with your lifetime, within your lifetime, Brucea Wayne, but the downside is that you'll be considered the new Brie Larson. Would you do it? I mean, I'd probably do it just for fun, because I think starring in a movie would be fun, but if I was playing, like, a Batwoman, I'd want to be one of the already canonical Batwomen, you know? I wouldn't necessarily want to be playing Lady Bruce Wayne. I'd want to play, one of the already existing Batwomen, but that's my position. But if it was offered to me, sure, I'll ruin the movie because I can't act, but I'll do it.
Come in with... people like Resilience Lismore, Resilience Ballina, Resilience New South Wales. So anything that's got a resilience before the name,
Left Flank Vets, thanks so much for the raid. Happy 420, everyone. Welcome, Raiders. I'm Hannah. Today we're doing a 420 tinfoil stream. I often look at conspiracy theories and conspiracy theorists and make fun of them, talk about why their conspiracy theories aren't true, often how they tie into, nowadays, right-wing talking points, which is pretty scary. We play Tinfoil Tuesday Bingo, so if you get a bingo card, if someone wants to put that in chat, the first person who wins bingo, 1 card per person, please, you will get a gift sub from me, or you can have me gift it to someone else. Whatever. Either way, everyone in chat, make sure you go check out Left Flank Vets here on Twitch. Very awesome channel. I appreciate it so much. Let's see. Neon Blue 120, thanks for following. Old Driver, thank you for following. Appreciate it.
Oh, that's attached to the New World Order agenda. You know that is a word that is being used by the World Economic Forum. They will pose as local community helpers and people that are helping, but they're actually part of the New World Order. Their job is to play the good cop within the bad cop, good cops.
Doc Chorizo, thanks for following. Let's see. Tea with Goblins with a link. What I see when Hannah says Lady Bruce Wayne. Hey, Bruce pulls that off, okay? I'll have you know.
Scenario. So they'll come in, they'll offer a solution, and their solutions will be to help feed people and to sign you up to whatever government funding that they can offer you, basically.
It's honestly pretty insidious that right-wing think tanks and whatever else has basically convinced a lot of people, a lot of working class people, that any sort of government assistance, even in times of dire need like natural disaster, isn't just the government serving its purpose and trying to use tax dollars taken from citizens in order to help said citizens, but instead is part of a nefarious plan to trap them into being helped by the government, which is evil for some reason. I don't know how they did that, but, like, in terms of evil plans, they nailed it. Paladin's Fury says, what do you mean you can't act? You've been pretending not to be a lizard person in a human suit for years. Yeah, but you know that, so how good am I really? Will I Am Not Okay says, don't sell yourself short, Hannah. You convinced almost a dozen people that you're not a lizard person. And Mike says, what about Bryce Wayne? Who's Bryce Wayne? I've actually not read Dark Knight's Metal, so I don't know who that is. I'm assuming an alt-universe Batwoman? Who also has the powers of Aquaman here? Or at least has Aquaman's trident? I don't know. I've heard Dark Knight's Metal is interesting.
$1,000 potentially.
QAnon anti-union propaganda next. At the very least, QAnon people really don't like unions already. Nails the Tabaxi, thanks for 13 months, says, howdy everyone, how is everyone? Good. I assume a lot of them are high.
To help you, buy some food in the short term. But in order to do that, you have to have a digital identity. Now,
I'm guessing this is going to be Mark of the Beast stuff.
Now, in the meantime, your houses are inhabitable. So what's happened in Queensland right now? Well, today, Anastasia Palaszczuk has offered, right, to house displaced New South Wales victims to wellness camp facilities in Toowoomba. Now, she quoted, it will safeguard against whatever comes in the future. We have these facilities for anything that may be thrown at us in the future. Now, what do these politicians know that we don't know?
Nothing! You already said you know about climate change, you just don't believe it. There are going to be natural disasters because, we know how weather and climate work, roughly speaking. We know that Australia has been seeing more and more natural disasters as a result of human-caused climate change, so they're making preparations. You don't have to be you don't even have to be reactive. You can be proactive, which this isn't even necessarily super proactive. There have already been situations where people's homes have been destroyed. This is the Australian government seeing, oh, we're having a crisis of really, really crazy weather events that are destroying people's homes and lives. We need to do something and provide homes for these people, at least temporarily, when this happens and they're displaced. What do you mean, what do they know that we don't? Do you not know about weather? Do you not know about natural disasters? Speedy Yoshi says, which is better, Superman 3 or Superman 4? Nuclear Man is a gay icon, though. Which one's 3? Probably Superman 3. Quest for Peace kind of sucks. Lazy Paradox, thanks for 9 months, says, 9 months apparently in the most auspicious of days. What's the weed baby name, Hannah? This baby's name is going to be... What's the name of the guy that wrote Because I Got High? Afro Man? Was that Afro Man? This sub-baby's name is Afro Baby. R.I.P. Afro Man. Is Afro Man dead? Either way, R.I.P. Afro Man. Alive or dead.
And why have they built these wellness camps? Well, I'll tell you why. Because they want to flood you out. They want to take your land, take your homes, take everything you own, put you into these camps.
Wow, thanks. What a great plan. They get all this flooded land that's worthless. Yay. It's the Ben Shapiro Aquaman argument all over again.
Now, if we go back to the camps in Germany, the people that went to the camps in Germany went there willingly because they were told
Yikes.
they were going there for their own safety. And take your
That's a historical.
suitcases. It'll be fine. We're taking you there for your own safety. That's a massive alarm bell. Okay? A massive alarm bell. We have seen footage of the people that are actually making these cubicles for the camp, and there are gas pipes that go direct into every one of those cubicles.
If that's true, it's probably because they need gas to run stoves and stuff, or whatever, you weirdo. Or they could just be pipes for water. Nails the Tabaxi says, Superman 3 had the evil Superman and Richard Pryor. I think it's better than Man of Steel. Almost every movie is better than Man of Steel.
Now, we know that in World War II, when the war was declared over and the opposition went to, for example, Auschwitz, they found the death records of anyone who had died at Auschwitz. And on these records, it said that they had died of a disease. They claimed there was an outbreak of polio. They claimed there was an outbreak of some kind of disease that wiped out the whole camp. Are you seeing the similarities to...
I am so sick of conspiracy theorists saying everything is the Holocaust. It's ridiculous.
What possibly could happen in our very, very near future? This is all a tactic to implement the New World Order, the smart cities, resilient cities, fast rails, get people into camps.
Oh no, high-speed trains, the horror!
Potentially release the new strain of whatever under the guise that it went rampant around the camps and it wiped out a lot of the people that are there. Take the land and then start...
This video has over 100,000 views on Facebook, by the way.
Their resilient...
This isn't like someone who like gets no views and just posts these for herself. She has fans.
Cities with potentially the children, reprogram them again and start anew. They want you out of the picture. They want us out of the picture. Now, this news isn't getting out to the rest of the world. The only news that's getting out to the rest of the world about what's happening in Australia is...
Yeah, population control on the bingo card. She's getting a lot of bingo spaces filled.
In the Daily Mirror in England, there was a whole piece done on how climate change was going to potentially wipe out a lot of the cities in the east coast of Australia.
Because that's reality, lady! Bittergrin says 100,000 views. Facebook really is the scourge on humanity. Yep.
Now, that is planting a seed. It's called...
No Illuminati Freemasons yet.
MK Ultra into people's minds. So when it does happen, when we get flooded out and they achieve what they're trying to achieve, they're trying to keep it quiet because what we are is we're the testing ground. That's why they're keeping it quiet. We are the testing ground for the rest of the world. If it works, if this weather engineering works and floods the shit out of us and the fires and whatever else they plan so they can displace and put people into camps, and I've told you the rest.
Or they understand there's a high risk of flooding because science makes predictions and meteorology bears out the fact that that is going to happen. Could be that one. Speedy Yoshi says, people like this make me physically sick. You're making the world a worse place. I don't know if this woman is just a grifter or really believes this. Either way, F her so much. I think she believes it.
Then they've achieved it. They can then roll it out around the rest of the world. But they still have to tell the rest of the world in a roundabout way what potentially could have been the cause of what is to come in Australia when it does come. So they've written it as if it's climate change.
It is climate change. That might be inconvenient to your politics, but it's reality. Mike Mack says, Lady, if the cabal that wipes us out... Wait. If the cabal want to wipe us out, why not just use nukes and replace the human race with clones, robot aliens, demons, or whatever? It's not that hard. Yeah, the conspiracy theories these people make is not internally consistent.
Now, we know that little Greta Thunberg is a plant. She's a
Oh, God.
World Economic Forum plant. She's planted there to play the good cop, bad cop, so they can push their agenda of the new world or the climate change. Okay? We also know that Grace Tame. Now, Grace Tame is the young...
Poetic Fox says, I think my boss, who turned out to be a Jehovah's Witness, might be discriminating against me at work and favoring the Christian straight employees who reference some fairly outspoken non-religious bisexuality with a boyfriend. Document things. If you ever get weird emails or calls, try and get things in writing, in case you ever need a lawsuit.
Australian of the Year. Grace Tame is also a plant for child sexual abuse. Okay, what they want to do is implement in the actual schools a digital identity for each child for their own safety against predators, potentially within the school or out of the school. Okay, Grace Tame.
That was a lot of air quotes. You could have stopped air quotes after you said protection, but she kept going. Got overzealous. M. Scheffler says she's not a plant. She has to be a lizard person, right?
Has been used to pit against ScoMo to make ScoMo look bad. Now, ScoMo's done his job. ScoMo's made his millions. He's had his contracts with Pfizer, Moderna, whoever else. He's made his billions. He's come in and said, okay, I'll play the bad cop. Albanese, you take over in the next election, because we know the elections are rigged. We know that no matter what we do and whoever we vote for, if we did enter into a contract within their voting system, is going to be put in anyway. These people are played.
That very much sounds like a sovereign citizen argument. By voting, we're entering into a contract with the government. That's not how that works.
And this has been planned from a grassroots level for this moment in time.
Speedy Yoshi says, if the elections are rigged, why don't we get someone more radical than Joe effing Biden? I mean, she's talking about Australia right now.
To implement the World Economic Forum, New World Order, Agenda 21 to 30. This isn't a conspiracy. It's
a conspiracy.
There for you to see. Go to the World Economic Forum page. Go there, have a look, scroll through it. You'll be quite surprised at what you might find. Now, Albanese has said that he will be, if he gets in, implementing the same laws that Anastasia Palaszczuk is using.
She just keeps making me think of Chuck Palahniuk. Tea with Goblin says, Gore, for the record, Grace Tame was the Australian of the Year who advocated for the rights of sexual abuse survivors. She's a current lefty darling because she refused to smile in a sleazy photo shoot with our sexist creep of a PM. This woman accusing her of being a deep state plant is deeply insulting. Okay.
What does that say to you? Australia, we are in shit. We are in big shit. I'm talking, we're going back here to World War II, World War I tactics on how to take people out. This is no joke. This is happening. It's happening in Lismore. The Army, the SES are in there. They're not allowing volunteers who were there on the front line for the first 14 days before anyone stepped in and before any resilience groups stepped in. They're not allowing them in there anymore. They're going door to door and they're knocking on people's doors and telling them they have to go in there to assess if the house is livable. Now, they have no right to. They are a corporation and you are...
The government isn't a corporation. If the government comes into your house after a natural disaster and is like, hey, we need to check if this is livable, that's within the purview of the government. I know you don't like that. I know a lot of sovereign citizen types don't like that. She kind of is sounding a little sovereign citizen-y right now. But they do. It's within the purview of the government to check and make sure your house is in a livable state.
Are entering into a contract with them if you allow them into their house. So you have every right to say, I'm quite capable of deeming whether my house is safe or not. But thank.
And then they're going to be like, no, you're required to let us in. If not, we're going to de facto say your house is condemned. Let us into your house.
But no thanks. See you later. All right? The aim is to get you off the land, into the camps, and God knows what after that. Build the smart cities and have full control.
Who would live in smart cities then? That doesn't even make sense as an evil plan. If they kill everyone, who's going to live in the smart cities for them to control? M. Scheffler with 45-bit says, these people are the worst. Anytime they don't get what they want, it's rigged. As the center of the universe, they know they deserve to have everything they want. And if they don't get it, they've been cheated. I hate to be one of them to inform them, but the universe has no plan, and you're not special. Sometimes you lose. Radiology says, it's not only a timely comment, but given the subject matter, I want to make sure everything I'm about to say is correct. This week is the anniversary of 13,000 Jewish people dying in the Warsaw Ghetto Uprising. They were resisting the Nazis transporting them to concentration camps, and most of them died being burnt alive in their homes. Quote, went willingly indeed. This person can F right off. Yeah, she's disgusting. Sky Helmet Fallen says, when my assistant boss started treating me unfairly compared to my fellow coworkers, I decided to have a conversation barely within earshot of him and drop the words human resources casually but loud enough for him to hear. Good luck. I hope that worked out.
Over the population, where you don't have a right to sneeze, you don't have a right to buy, to drive a car, to have a say, to have any freedom of speech. They're desperately trying to push this agenda for gender neutral, and it's all part of this transhumanism nightmare.
Wow, this is just going into everything, isn't it?
They're implementing into schools a resilience program. Again, that word resilience. We keep hearing that word coming up. Resilience. Big red flag. They're really infiltrating the educational system. And they're trying.
Wait, did you just say the government is infiltrating the educational system? I assume schools are public in Australia, right? If so, public schools are already the government. What?
To fuck with your kids' heads.
No, we haven't hit word salad.
They're trying to lower the age of consent and normal.
No, they're not. The only people I know of who are doing anything even close to that was recently in the United States, Republicans tried to lower the age of marriage in, I think, Tennessee. No one wants to lower the age of consent. Stop it. Speedy Oji says 5-second cleanse for later. Thank you.
Pedophilia. Because the majority of the people running the show have a massive, massive investment in child trafficking and pedophilia.
That wouldn't even really make sense. Like, obviously, child trafficking and pedophilia are wrong, but let's say you had a bunch of money invested into child trafficking. Wouldn't it be counterintuitive to your business model to lower the age of consent? Because then you would no longer have a business in trafficking children. You know what I mean? It would be like drug cartels working to legalize weed. Doesn't really make sense.
It is a huge pill to swallow. A huge pill. Yes, sure, it's happening in Canada. It's happening in lots of countries. Canada, Australia, the Commonwealth countries are the first ones to get hit. We are the ones that have been disarmed. We are the testing grounds. They're not going to try it on America first. They've got their guns. We don't. And we're pretty much, she'll be all right. But we're not all right, guys. Australia is not okay. It is getting to the point where they are deceiving people to go to camps now, under the guise that their houses are uninhabitable and they're going to help them. These camps have barbed wire around the outside. They have roller doors that shut down on you every night. What next?
Louis Love Stuff says, my mother literally told me the other day that teaching children that gay people exist is sexually abusing children. And when I asked her if that meant she abused my sister and I because when we were young, she had gay friends, and that made her cry. If your parent joins a cult, stop them. Gitara says, wow, this is the craziest pro-gun law pitch I've ever seen. Yeep.
There are planes leaving from Bankstown Airport. We have the numbers, we have the names of the pilots, and they are geoengineering planes. There are boats out at sea directing energy weapons to manipulate the weather. We can see
That's not a thing that exists.
it on the radar. They're like in the shape of a cone, and they do that. They do that.
They do that. That's our evidence. They do that. Look it. They do this, that, this. Ah.
So, you got to understand that
What is geoengineering? Weather control. She thinks the government's controlling the weather?
this is no conspiracy. That this
It's a conspiracy. It's a crazy conspiracy. She's not only wrong, she's an asshole.
evil, unfortunately, does
This woman thinks G.I. Joe was a documentary? Wait, it wasn't?
exist. I wish
I thought Cobra Commander did 9/11.
I was wrong. I wish for every child in this world, I wish I was wrong. For my own
Good news! You're wrong!
child, I wish I was wrong. But I know I'm not wrong. I'm extremely intuitive. I see things that most people don't see. I get shown it.
Yeah, you're crazy. That's what crazy people do. Overthought says, and soon they will use sharks and frickin' lasers.
In so many ways, spiritually, mentally, physically, in every way.
Sam? Is that what we're talking about right now? If one conspiracy is true, does that mean every claimed conspiracy is true?
I get shown it, and there are millions of us out there that have got shown it. There are millions of us that are speaking up, but there are not enough of us.
I know, Sam is back. Tea with Goblin says, yeah, we got rid of, APT of our gun laws almost 30 years ago after the Port Arthur massacre. That was the last time we had a public mass shooting. The gun buyback laws were one of the few instances where almost all Australians agreed. Given the amount of insane cookers that have popped up down here since COVID hit, I guarantee that it's a good thing we don't have guns anymore. See, someone else earlier said there are more privately owned guns in Australia now than before the buyback stuff, but I don't know.
There are too many
I imagine harder to get, though.
sitting on the fence right now. And this is getting very serious. The whole of the East Coast, I'm giving you a warning. These floods are floods of epic proportions that are coming our way. Epic proportions. You weren't informed about the volcano that erupted, or the earthquake that happened at Vanuatu last week that caused mini tsunamis in Avoca here on the Central Coast, in Bondi Beach. They have the machinery, they have the gear to set off earthquakes now. It sounds crazy, it sounds...
They don't. No one has that technology. Are they moving entire tectonic plates? How does she think earthquakes happen?
Like, oh my God, how can humans be so, advanced? And they have, and they've had it for years, and now they're using it, and it's very tactical.
They're tactical earthquakes. The government's bringing tactical earthquakes to the table, people. M. Scheffler says, have any of the conspiracy nuts said that G.I. Joe was programming because Cobra Commander and that half-snake guy were lizard people, and that the show was just getting us ready for lizard people? I've not heard that. Overthought says, what if she just wants cheap real estate and is trying to drive people out of the towns like some lame Scooby-Doo plot? Wouldn't be a very good Scooby-Doo villain.
It's very tactical, it's all planned, and it's moving very fast to the point now it's got to the camps. Why do you think those camps were built? They weren't...
In order to house people when they're, what's the word I'm thinking of? When they have to move out of their homes because of natural disasters.
Built to keep you safe from the boogeyman, which they call COVID. They weren't built.
you just said earlier the camps were built when people get, like, moved out of their homes for natural disasters. Displaced, thank you. Rageology says, for anyone who doesn't know, Australia has actual camps. They're for migrant people in the state doesn't want to process in the country. They're kept on an island, and there are laws against reporting from inside them or whistleblowing. Abuse in them is common, it's legal and well known, and they are regular protests against them. Wonder why she's not concerned about those. Just joking. The answer is racism. Well, yeah, she's not going to get put in a camp like that, so she has to make up one that she thinks she might get put in order to feel oppressed. Speedy Oshi says, what do you think of the peak of human cinema? Scooby-Doo 2 Monsters Unleashed, James Gunn's masterpiece. It was better than the first movie.
Built for that. They were built for this. And until you realize that, then you're never going to wake up. We need you to wake up now.
I think this lady thinks the world thinks about Australia way more than they do. No offense to Australians, but, like, I don't think people think about you guys unless, like, a koala bear comes up or they buy a bottle of wine with a kangaroo on it. Like, you're not the center of a conspiracy. No one thinks about you. Jitara says, hey, look on the bright side. Once their cities flood, they can follow Ben Shapiro's advice and sell their homes to Aquaman. True.
Now, we know the Rothschilds, the Bushes, the Rockefellers. We know that the world is owned literally by these few families that run the banking system. We know they start wars and they fund both sides. We know that oil is what keeps this spinning. And we don't even need oil because we could have free energy through magnets.
Oh, God. Okay, so magnets are used and can be used to produce electricity. So electromagnetism is one force, right? There isn't magnetism and electricity, it's electromagnetism. They're the same thing. So if you take, like, copper wire and wrap it kind of around a magnet and have some mechanism to spin it, then an electric field will be produced, right? So that's actually how we generate energy, is using, like, magnets, right? So she's not wrong, but you need work as an effort over time to produce it. You know, there needs to be motion input into the system or some sort of work put into the system to produce electricity. So in the case of some renewables, like windmills, what they're doing is they're using wind to spin a thing, and then that thing is using that motion, that work that is produced by the wind in order to produce said electricity using those electromagnetic principles. There are things that don't do that. Solar energy is a different thing, for instance. But, like, when we're talking about oil, which is often refined then into, like, gasoline or something, like, if you have a gas generator, what it's doing is using that gasoline to propel a motor, and then that motor spins and produces electricity using the wire and the magnets. Right? So, we do get electricity from magnets, using magnets, but it's not free. Like, there's no such thing as free energy. Period. It's like a rule of it's a law. It's a physical law. You can't just get energy out of nowhere. It needs to be converted in some way. El Minato says, why don't we just set up a perpetual machine to create electricity and harness the extra? Because that's impossible. Entropy. You're always going to lose some energy to heat or light or some other sort of way that things, like, for instance, the way light bulbs work, at least incandescent light bulbs, electricity is going through them, the field is going through them, And the light comes out because it's energy being converted into light energy. But unfortunately, it also converts things into heat energy, which is why if you touch a light bulb, an incandescent one that's been on for a while, it gets hot. A lot of that energy is being turned into heat energy. It's actually very interesting. But, like, it's not magic. We understand how it works. Maps and Mimic says, she's right, they teach you that in the first year of engineering college, and then the next 3 years are teaching you how to keep it a secret and lie to everyone. Also, magnets decay over time, so no. H-Baird with 45 bits.
Fucking magnets, how do they work?
Oopsie.
Those guys are always leaving me behind. Those guys are always leaving me behind.
Man, LEGO Dimensions was such an awesome game. I wish they'd remaster it and re-release it, but without the toys part, so you could just play it as, you know, a normal LEGO game.
It's all an illusion, and until you pull that veil away and see it for what it is, then we are never, ever going to move forward as humanity.
Speedy Yoshi says, so you lose energy to heat, aka hotness. No matter I lose energy whenever I see... No wonder I lose energy when I see you. Thanks, I'll be on all week. Lovely.
We have to move forward. We have to stop this genocide. So many people went blind, walked blindly with their kids and themselves.
No, Speedy Yoshi, I got your thing.
To the gas chambers. That's phase 1. We are now in phase 2, weather wars. And they will keep hitting us like they hit Lismore and Ballina. Do you know what happened in Ballina? You want to hear what happened in Byron Bay? The people were told, you don't need to evacuate anymore. Go back to your houses. Then at 3 o'clock in the morning, 3 o'clock is the time that they hit, when everyone's asleep and people are blindsided.
Okay, so the government fucked up then? I'm sorry, that's fucked up. I would agree that's fucked up, but that's not a conspiracy. That's incompetence.
It is how they do it. 3 o'clock in the morning, people woke up in their beds surrounded by water, in the dark. No alarm went off. Some excuse that the alarm was broken. You don't think that all was pre-planned?
No.
Oh, go back to your houses.
That doesn't even make sense in terms of the plan you said. If they already were going to try and move people so they can have their houses destroyed and put them in camps, why would they then tell them to go home so they can be there for the natural disaster? That doesn't make sense.
It's not a threat. You're fine. And then at 3 o'clock in the morning it happens, but no one gets a warning. Come on, guys. It's time to start saying for what it is. I'm here fighting for my child. I've lived my life. I've lived a pretty good life.
Didn't get a lot of education, though, I'm guessing. Speedy Yoshi says, Cobra Commander really wishing he had patented and trademarked his weather device could have been a billionaire with all the governments buying them. Weather Dominator. It's called the Weather Dominator. Get it right.
But I'm here fighting for you and your children and your children's children. Do you want them growing up in a society where they have absolutely no rights?
No, but that's not gonna happen, at least not the way you're saying. Mike Mack says, Lady, no offense, but your country is a death threat already by the government trying to help its citizens too much. Wait, death threat already? Your country is a death threat already, but the government trying to help its citizens is too much.
Where their body is used as an experiment. Where at any time they could be shot or murdered. Is that what you want? We have to stand up. We have to change this. Look at your skies. Look at the planes that go over and back and over and back and spray the shit out of the sky and then drop heavy metals and toxins on you and your kids and on the
Chemtrails on the bingo card.
animals. And then cause these weird kind of weather formations that they want to create, and they use sonic weaponry to dictate where that goes, and then boom. They're even
Sonic weaponry that we can't hear.
using the words like weather bomb. Have you ever heard that? In your whole years when you studied geography at school, have you ever heard the word weather bomb used?
Why would we learn about weather in geography class?
Well, in the news
I feel like that would be a natural sciences thing.
here in Australia, they
She wasn't paying enough attention in either to know the content of said classes, I take it.
told us quite clearly that we were in for a weather bomb. Why do they use the word bomb? They want to get you used to it. They want to tell you what they're doing to you. They're literally dropping a bomb on you. It mightn't be in the form of arsenic. It might be in the form of what they used in your regular bombs to blow you up. But the destruction of these bombs is worse, if not 10 times worse than a regular bomb, because they cover a much larger area. People's houses were under 12 meters. 12 meters. People were left on the roofs of their houses.
How were they on their roofs if they were covered in 12 meters of water? Do you mean 12 meters from the ground? How high are their houses? Anyway, the point I'm trying to make here is it's climate change. The government isn't changing the weather. All right, I think I'm done with this lady. There's about 10 minutes left.
And
but
say,
like,
vote out both parties.
she's doing the same
They're
thing.
doing that.
So
So Australia's the target for the fires.
someone says, as someone who's lived in that area, this woman is insane. As someone who lives on a different continent than her, this woman is insane. So I'm glad we're all on the same page. That's Tilly. I'm sure we'll see more of her in the future, but interesting. Seems like conspiracy theories are a problem all over the world. Yep, we'll check the bingo card. Moving on.